How's it going, Internet? This is Jacob with Jacob Reviews Things, and today we're here to do a review of this Cold Steel Bush Ranger. Now, this is a knife I'd had my eyes on for a few years now, just kind of like, oh man, I kind of want to buy that knife. Nah, I don't. It's too much money. I've got other good knives, blah, blah, blah. And a few months ago, it just happened to be on sale over at Midway USA for a really, really reasonable price, and here we are. And yeah, after all that waiting and hyping this knife up in my mind, what do I think? It's a really good knife. It's pretty solid. In fact, it's very solid. This is a incredibly thick knife for a folder, especially. It's hard to. It might not be easy to tell on camera just how beefy this thing is. Um, like the blade stock's about 4 millimeters thick, which is like 0.16 inches, I believe, which is really thick for a folder, especially a 3.5 inch knife. Like when you, that's the first thing everybody I hand this knife to look at says is they're just like, "Wow, that is chunky." I guess it is. It still feels very good in the hand though, because the handle has to be chunky as well to handle all that material, but very ergonomic. In fact, I'd say it fits my hand perfectly. Everything's where it's supposed to be. There's no hot spots. I mean, I haven't spent like hours and hours at a time using this knife, but yeah, I don't think it would ever be uncomfortable. Yeah, and if you have smaller hands, this might not be for you just because of how thick the handle is. Got these big slabs of G10 right here, and oh yeah, no liners actually. That's interesting. Um, so yeah, feels good in the hand. You've got S35VN steel. So I can zoom in right there. Yeah, great steel. One of my favorite steels. And I've had a couple cold steel knives in S35VN. They seem to know what they're doing with that steel. I've never had any issues with one of their blades. Um, what else is there to say? Oh yeah, so we've got an access lock, great lock. Some, or sorry, not the access lock. That's the triad lock. The access lock is something else. The triad lock is Cold Steel's go-to version of the back lock. It's one of the strongest locks you can get on the market. It's very functional. Never had one fail on me. Yeah. And one thing that's cool about them is you can kind of it's not like a gravity knife or a switchblade, where you push a button and the blade flings out, but you can use gravity and just kind of. Oh, that was. Let me try that again. Sorry, it's hard to do things when you're watching the camera. There we go. Nice and easy. So, yeah, if you ever need to deploy this thing quickly and you don't feel like using the thumb plate up here, just boom, ready to go. Um oh yeah, that brings me to the thumb plate. So, Cold Steel for legal reasons can't use Emerson wave openers, which let me grab one of those. All right, yeah. So this is an Emerson opener. It's just a hooked design to catch on things like your pocket as you're pulling it out, and then boom. Cold Steel isn't allowed to use that for legal reasons, so they have the thumb plate, which is supposed to function the same way. It catches on stuff and then, yeah, pulls it open. It's not nearly as effective, and it doesn't really work for that purpose. I don't think in this knife. There's just not a whole lot of space in between. Yeah, let's get closer there. Yeah, you can see there's almost no space in between the plate and the spine of the blade, so not a whole lot can actually get in there. Like let's take a look at this dusting cloth. Yeah, like that cloth is a little thicker actually than the gap, and that's just a thin rag. So I think it's just not. I think thumb studs just would have been better, especially when you can quick deploy the knife like that. But whatever, man, it works. Like I'm not having yeah, I don't feel uncomfortable doing that. It doesn't feel unnatural using the thumb plate as a thumb stud. But yeah, as far as it catching on your pant lip when you're pulling it out, I mean, it could happen. You just have to practice with it a lot. Let's see, is there anything else about the design of this knife it's worth pointing out? Oh, pocket clip sucks ass. Just straight up, just chugs booty. It's really bad. I've made a whole video. You can go watch it on my channel where I kind of roast cold steel for pocket clips mostly, and this is another example of that. And it's just such a pain. I mean, it's too immovable. It doesn't bend around. Like when you're trying to put this in your pocket, it doesn't move. You kind of just get scrunched up, and then you have to like take your finger and pull on the lip of it to give yourself that little bit of wiggle room to get your pant, pocket. Yeah, it's just, it's even sillier than I'm making it sound. I know I'm making it that sound way more dramatic than it is, but it's something that bugs me because I actually like to carry my knives and use them. And if it's a pain in the ass to carry the knife, then I just don't carry it. And that means I don't use it, and I get really sad. Then I start to cry. That's why I don't show my face on camera, because I cry all the time. Yeah, so yeah, and that's carryability on this knife is kind of, it's all over the place. On one hand, you've got a clip that sucks and a really bulky knife, but on the other hand, you have a really light knife that you can get a ton of work out of. Like this is a knife that punches way, ooh, bumped the camera there, punches way above its weight. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the blade is really thick. Almost, like, let me compare it here to my Work Tough Gear V44X. This is a 10-inch Bowie, 3-inch Bowie, but as you can see, they're pretty close to the same thickness. Yeah, 0.18 inches, 0.16 inches. So this thing is a monster. I mean, this is between the triad lock, the S35VN, and the thickness of the blade, this thing is a beast, and it maintains that strength all the way to the tip. I was just stabbing this into a log over and over, just seeing how the tip would hold up. And it didn't get dulled a single bit. It's still razor sharp, super pointy. I did some batoning with this knife too. I don't usually baton with folders just because, as we saw, I have fixed blades for that and hatchets. But yeah, this knife is a monster, man. It crushed through everything. Yeah, and that Bowie blade shape, really useful. The handle allows you to just make great cuts all the kind of ways I like to cut. You sort of have a choil here. I don't think I would use it, really. My finger's a little too close to that crazy sharp edge for my liking. And I'm very clumsy, so I'd probably cut myself. And as thick as this knife is, too, it's a very good stabber, which is one of the bonuses of a Bowie blade design, but they've got a good swedge on here. Like if you feel this part of the blade, its spine right here, they got it at a 90 degree, good for ferro rods, that kind of stuff. I didn't actually test it on a ferro rod, but I'm sure it would work great for it. This, they ground it down, made it smooth, polished it out a little, so it's great for stabbing into things, just punching through stuff, sliding right in. Just great. So the only reason I can think to not buy this knife are the price, and it's kind of just big and bulky. It's not heavy, but it is big and bulky. Like when I have this in my pocket, I notice it when I'm carrying it around. But I mean, just throw this thing in your backpack or keep it in your car or your hunting bag, whatever, man. I mean, this thing's awesome. Really love it. I'm glad I bought it. And yeah, I mean, it also kind of cracked me up that even though I do like this knife, it also had all the negative flaws that I talked about in my other cold steel video. So that was kind of nice, proving myself right, I guess, with a sample size of 1. But yeah, man, I'm a fan of this knife. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Like I said, check on midwayusa.com. I don't know, I bought this months ago, so I don't know if they're still doing a sale, but it's worth checking it out. I got it for $60, and normally it's like a $150 knife. Yeah, that's the other big flaw is the price. I mean, it's unfortunately the way the economy is right now. I can't recommend anybody spend $150 on a knife, but this wouldn't be a bad one. Not bad at all. Oh, before we go, I do have a flaw. There was a problem with this knife I would like to point out. This doesn't affect, or it hasn't affected the knife so far, but it's just something that annoys me. So right here, you can see there's a piece of the lock that's missing. It's just a chunk of the metal that's not there. Right there. Yeah, I don't know if... So clearly somebody wasn't paying attention with the quality control. Again, it doesn't affect the quality of the knife. The lock still works. But at the same time, if you're charging somebody that much money for a knife and you're claiming to have the strongest, most indestructible lock ever, you got to make sure the lock looks good and works well. Yeah, you can't be putting out $150 knives with flaws like that. All right. Peace out, everyone.